Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. He kind of went away for a second, but I'm eager to talk to him. Can you go ahead and announce? I have a special guest for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce who you are and where you're calling from?
Sylvester Boyd, and I'm calling from Chicago, Illinois, downtown.
Wow, that's a tough, rough place, and I have some questions about that. But first, let's dig into your past, leading up into your present. You're a strong African American man, by the way.
My past started out in the south side of Chicago, which was predominantly all African American. I'm talking back in the 1950s. I was raised up in the 50s, so you get a little bit of my age. And then my folks moved to 22nd and State in Chicago, which is Chinatown. So I had many friends that were Asian. At that point, I called it a little UN community because we had a little bit of everybody. We had Hispanic people, Asian people, of course, Chinatown, African American, because it bordered right on State Street. And we went to school in Chinatown, actually. Some of my best friends were Asian. And then my folks moved because of, even back in those days, there were street gangs and things that they thought they didn't want my siblings and I to be exposed to. So they moved to Michigan, a little town called Allegan, and basically they bought about 40 acres of land, and it was farm country. And believe it or not, I was in the Future Farmers of America. So well, that was a drastic change from
How old were you?
how old was I? About 14, 13, 14.
Wow, that's amazing. Yes, continue.
A big change from urban America to rural America. And the school that I went to there was predominantly white. So I think in my graduating class, I had about 7 African American students.
Hey,
And
Sylvester, we're gonna do a sound check, and then I'm gonna re-ask the question. But can you kind of like mess with your speaker or your camera phone or your camera a little bit because I can't hear you.
you can, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that
So
better?
what was you saying? Yeah, you were 14. You went to you turned. They were urban America turned into rural America, and then you went to a predominantly white school. How was that for you? And tell me the rest about your past leading up into what you do now.
Okay, well, basically, that was a drastic change from, this urban Chicago and into the rural setting. And basically, it was a big change because I could see the difference in the schools. The schools that I went to in Chicago did not add up to what the schools in Michigan, which were in the rural area and predominantly white, you could see the very different. They had tennis courts. They had uh, all types of teams and debating teams and etc., which did not exist for me in the Chicago. That was one of the reasons that my family moved to Michigan to get the. My mother used to always said, if you went to school where the white children go, you'll get the education the white children get.
I agree. I agree.
And so I think from that, I was in Africa, like I said, I actually raised chickens in Florida. And the city boy doing running up and down the streets of Chicago to raising chickens and pigs was a very big change. Uh, I went to Kennedy King College in Chicago, and also went to Chicago State University. Kennedy King received a associate's degree. Chicago State University and received my bachelor's. I have taught school in the Chicago public school system, which is the next thing I talked to. I wanted to teach because I wanted to give uh, young children the example of what I thought I had to bring to the table. I also started a business, a business with my own company for
What was the business in?
ad specialties. And some of my clients, ad specialties, I don't know whether you guys know what that is. That's anything that's custom and printed. T-shirts, jackets, caps, balloons, bumper stickers, etc. So that's a business that I was in. And I did business with McDonald's, Coors Beer out of Golden, Colorado. Frito-Lay, a client of mine, and they were in Texas, located in Texas. Hershey, Pennsylvania. And that was fascinating because I went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and all the lampposts in Hershey were made like Hershey's Kisses. So that was different. And when I went to Coors Beer, I'm not a beer drinker, but I had to drink beer because my client manufactured beer. But in doing that, I traveled all over the country. I did business with the Missouri State Lottery, the Illinois Lottery, Western Michigan University, and a whole host of, big companies. And I skipped the airline. One of the first black crew chiefs, African American crew chiefs for American Airlines, O'Hare Field. At the
How
time,
did that feel? A huge accomplishment, right?
well, yeah, at the time it just felt natural. Well, the reason I was able to get the job is because they were looking for people who were either in college or had a college degree uh, to fill a program that they had for minority they were starting up. So this was way back in 1960s, at a time
Was
that
it the late 60s or the early 60s or the mid 60s?
I started May 16th, 1967,
Oh,
and
wow.
I stayed there until 19 well, the real late 1990s. So
Wow.
yeah, so it basically a job that I didn't when I started. There were very few blacks. It was a new program. If you can remember, a long time ago, people used to dress to get on the airplane, and it was a big deal to get on just to get on the airplane during this period of time. It was the
Did they have, okay, I have a question for you. Did they have those detectors? I know they didn't, but do you know when they started getting those metal detectors? You
Uh,
know,
oh no, they did not have metal detectors. You could just walk out to the gate, and if you were with somebody, you could see them off on the airplane. At one point, I was the union steward, and for about 500 guys that worked on the ramp, and I used to fly to New York in the jump seat behind the flight engineer, which is an experience most people will never get because you always sit in the cabin. I sit behind the flight engineer, and that's I had the keys to the cockpit. That was totally a different time in America.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. You were very diverse and it paid off. Tell me more about what happened after you retired with the American Airlines.
Well, I left American Airlines to start my own company. I had a degree, and I felt that I saw some people promoted over me, which didn't sit well with me. Some white, to be frank, folks who promoted over me and which didn't have as much seniority, and they went into management. I was in a union, so it was a different thing. And I had a hesitancy about leaving the union to join because they say a lot of times they elevate to eliminate. So I was afraid of that. But basically, what I did, I left and started my own business, ad specialties, which is anything that can be custom and printed: T-shirts, jackets, caps, balloons, bumper stickers, and that's I sold to all those people I just mentioned. And it was a nationwide company. From one coast to the next. I did the party favors for Hiltons and Sheratons all over the United States, big hotels, small hotels, nightclubs, etc. Happy New Year, the horns, the hats, I sold all that to big companies. That I did for about 20 years. I also taught in the Chicago Public School. And the reason I wanted to teach in the Chicago Public Schools was that I thought I brought something to the table that was, they could see a black person just like them starting out in the inner city ghetto and accomplishing things in life. I've traveled the world. I've been from Copenhagen, Denmark to Norway, Sweden, Honolulu, Acapulco, most of the islands in the Caribbean. In Canada, yeah, it's a whole list of the world spots that I've been in. And I tell I'm a motivational speaker now, and I go into classrooms and I talk to young people and tell them, that they can do it. There's always a price to pay for whatever you do, whether it's good or bad. There's a price. I mean, I had to pay a price of going to school, and when other people did other things, I went to school. And you have to either give up time or something of value to get something in life. You have to bring something to the table to take something from the table. And that's what I kind of try to impart on young students in some of the harder to get on the west side. I've also taught them the south side of Chicago. Some of the high schools. I've taught every kindergarten to 12. So I was a substitute teacher when I found myself in different classroom settings. Almost every time they called me, it would be a different classroom. I substitute for somebody who may be out on maternity leave or vacation or whatever. That's sort of the situation. And one of the best feelings from that was that I've seen some students that I taught, being a substitute, you don't think that you have a mark on kids, but I ran into several of the kids that were in my class, and they talked about how I taught them geography or something, that because I would get away from the script, because I think our kids need more than what the script is. When you come in, they give you a lesson plan, which I felt that I would follow for about, I would say, half the class, half the time. The other half, I would give them facts and things that I thought they should know at their grade level.
What grade was it?
Well, K through 12. I caught little kindergarten kids sitting on the floor, and I taught kids ready to go to college, and everything in between, 4, 6, 7. There's not a grade I have not taught. For example, I taught them from my geography background. I asked them, what's the capital of, this state? What's the capital of that state? And what I would do to show them that you could do it is I would give them a book with all the information, and I would turn my back. So they would say, well, New Mexico. And I would say Santa Fe. That's the way I wanted them to say, you can do the same thing. I'm not unique. I'm just the person that listened to my teacher and learned something.
Yeah.
And when I taught, I wouldn't sit in the front of the class. I'd always sit in the back of the class because I could see them. They can't see me. So it was my little way of controlling the class. And so, because they can look at the teacher and they can tell what they can get away with. When you're sitting in the back of the class, you got them in view and they don't have you in view. So they don't know when you're looking and when you're not. So that was one of the things when I taught school. Basically, then another career. My life has been full of changes. I'm a person that's not afraid of change. I know whenever I make a decision, I try to make the best decision and look at things before I change, because, you look before you leave, just leave. But not being afraid of change, because usually change has been something that has enhanced my life, not had any detrimental effects on my life. Now, the other thing I've done in recent years has been I've been a background actor. I've been with some of the biggest actors in Hollywood, Roger P. Henry, Terrence Howard, Forrest Whitaker. Matter of fact, I got something I just did recently with Forrest Whitaker, and it's showing on MGM Max. So, I mean, this is, people, I look at the Academy Awards and I say, oh, yeah, I was with them in such and such a program. I did Empire about 25 times, about 25 episodes. Chicago PD, Chicago Med. So these are the things that, and the way I got into that, most people say, how did you get into doing that? And I was just walking down the street here in Chicago one day, and a guy came up to me and said, we need some people for a movie. Would you be interested? And I'm saying, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, you want some people, I'm going to be in a movie. But, he gave me a sheet and he said, this is where the location is, where they're interviewing people for some upcoming movie that they have. And so the next day I had nothing to do. So I said, oh, what the heck? That's decisions you make sometimes. They're low. And my first mind told me to go. My second mind tried to talk me out of it. My grandmother always taught me, follow your first mind. So I followed my first man. I said, what the heck? I'm going to go over here. It was on the north side of Chicago, and I was downtown. But I said, what the worst I got to lose? What have I got to lose? If nothing happens, it won't happen. Drove over there, and I got there. It was like Disneyland. I don't know if you look at some of the programs where people go into audition. I mean, it was every kind of person you ever want to think of: tall people, short people, black people, white people, men, women. And I said, yeah, sure, I got a chance of being in this. I fill out the paperwork, had me a little lunch, on the way back, and didn't think much of it. Tell you the truth, so I wasted that day. That was my opinion. About 2 weeks later, to make a long story short, phone rang, and it was the casting agent, and they said, "Are you Sylvester?" I said, "Yeah." Are you interested in doing a film? We looked at the producer, looked at your look, and he would like for you to be in the movie Dilemma. And the Dilemma was started out with Vince Vaughn, Jennifer Connelly, talking the biggest actors, some of the biggest actors, Queen Latifah. All these people appeared. And if you get the copy of it, you see me. I'm a security guard at the United Center in one of the scenes. So I mean, life. But suppose I had torn the paper up and thrown it away. It was, and that career has lasted for 15 years now. I'm currently still in that. So that shows you sometimes you make decisions and you don't know where they lead, but always try to do the thing that you think would be best for you to do, and you think you could do it. Now, I had no experience in being a background actor, but at that point, it didn't make any difference. If somebody wants to do a thing, you pay attention to how you do it. If you want to be a fireman, I tell kids, you want to be a fireman, go down to the local fire station, talk to the fireman. If you want to be a construction worker, if somebody's laying brick next to you, look at how they lay the brick. I learned I built a house from the ground up. My stepfather did some building. He taught me, but I always looked at how people did things. If you want to be a nurse, go by, talk to some local nurses, go by a hospital. This is the way kids should learn, by doing. Not so, you got to have the books, I agree, but you also have to have a connection. And if you're interested in something, basically the people around you probably be interested. Oh, you go by the firehouse, you get to know the fireman, So you're going to learn a lot more than the person that just comes out of school and gets hired to do a job. You have to be interested in what you do, because if you're interested in things you do, you never work. Make life exciting. You're here for a little. I always say everybody's here for a dash, and that's it. If you go to a cemetery, it makes you realize who and what life is all about. You're born, the dash, and then there's a date at the back of the dash. That's life. And if you don't get it while you're here, you squander it, you go to jail, you do things that are detrimental. And doing time is doing time. And time and life are the same thing.
Yeah.
When time runs out, life runs out. And I hear young people, well, he got 5 years, blah, blah, blah. He caught a trip. And it's like, that's 5 years of someone's life. What could you have accomplished in that 5 years? So I try to be real. Be real about what you say, what you do, and what you think. And hang around people. When I talk to children, I talk to them. Get around people that going to give something to you, not people who are going to take something from you. Listen to your elders, because we lost that pretty much, I think, in the society. Because I was raised up in a time that if an elderly person got on the bus and you were sitting down, you got up. It wasn't a matter of telling, you just got up. It was what you did. And to say a bad word around an elderly, but it's a thing of respect. And that's one of my biggest words in the human language, respect. Because respect, countries don't respect each other, they end up going to war. A man doesn't respect his wife, so they bigger and argue all the time. Respect is one of the biggest birds in the universe. And I try to impart that on the children I teach in school. So, and then when you give respect, you get respect. And if you don't respect yourself first, you don't respect anybody else. So I try to leave that with people in a general sense. I've also been an author of 3 books. Right now I'm working on my 4th book. It's called A Road for Money. Started in 1925, and it's about my aunt's life. She born in Money, Mississippi, and that was a historical place because Emmett Till was killed in went in Mississippi, and my family were from there. I have never been there, but I heard the stories sitting in my grandmother's knee and doing family get-togethers, and hear stories about how things were. They were sharecroppers. They were, people who weren't supposed to get to where they got. My mother raised 7 kids, and every one of them but one went to college and have a degree. I have a
You know
nephew.
what? I have to cut you off, man. Oh my God. 7 kids that are African American have college degrees and were born in the 30s or 40s, I want to say.
Well, they were born in the 50s, 60s, in
That's
that area.
still hard.
And my mother went back to school and got her degree from Western Michigan University and graduated with one of my brothers. So, you can do it. My thing is, I don't ever worry about what's holding me back. I always thrust forward. I got one life to live, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I've been on 7 cruises. Some of them took me to places I would have never gotten without being on a cruise ship. Working for the airline, I got a chance to travel the world there. And I've been in every state in the United States except 10. So 40 of the 50 states I've been in. So,
What state haven't you been in yet?
I haven't been much into the Northwest, like Montana, I think, Oregon, Washington State. I haven't been up in those states.
Is that on your bucket list?
Yeah, I figured if life gives me the opportunity, I end up there. One reason I went to some of the places I went to, my daughter was an officer in the Army. And when she would base up, she would invite me to, Cape Cod, because she's based in Boston. When she was at Fort Sill down in Georgia, Fort Stewart, excuse me, Fort Stewart. She went to so many different bases, and I was able to do things that a lot of people could only dream of. I think I alluded to the fact that when I was with American Airlines, I was a union steward, and when they had a situation where someone had to go to a negotiation in New York, they were based at that time on 3rd Street in New York. They would actually give me a pass to go. If there wasn't a seat on the airplane, I flew behind the flight engineer in a jump seat, so I got a chance to see how a plane takes off, how it lands, and actually hear them talking to the tower and things that most people could only dream of.
Yeah, and what was your role in The Exorcist? And then we're gonna move on to where you're going in the future.
My role was in the background. I'm a background actor, and I've acted with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, people that get Academy Award, Roger P. and Terrence Howard, Forrest Whitaker, uh, Wendell Pierce. I've been on Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. I've also been in motion pictures, The Dilemma with Vince Vaughn, Gentleman Conley, Queen Latifah. If you get a chance to get, it's an old movie. I think it's about 9 or 10. This is when I first started, about 10 years, 12 years ago. So it's out there if somebody would like to pick up a copy. My book series is about my aunt again, and being born in Monroe, Mississippi. I takes her life all the way from the time that she was a little girl in 1925, and she died in 2009. And it covers history. It covers, the Jim Crow era. It covers the music of the time. It covers the
Oh,
Michael.
I have a quick question. Because you already said that. I have a really good question. How do you think the music has changed with African American from the music of the slavery and the music of the 1900s through 2000 and like 1900s through 1990s? How do you think the music has changed?
It had changed vastly. And
Yeah,
started out with Louis Armstrong in my book,
yeah.
him being in down south, and he was in King Oliver band, and a lot of people don't know about those people. And what I tried to do is give the music of that time, ragtime, and then you go on to the next phase. You got bebop, back in the 40s, bebop, and the dancing that they did. I had a scene in my book where they actually at the Regal Theater here in Chicago, and the Regal used to have talent shows. And one of the scenes in the city in my book is at the Regal Theater back in the '40s, when they did Jitterbug, and they were jitterbugging on the floor. So I'm bringing to you what your relatives or your ancestors may be if you're a younger person, what their time was like. World War II. My aunt was Rosie the Riveter in a defense plant here in Chicago. So I talk about the defense plant. I talk about how the war started, the night the war started, what was on the radio. So you're getting a historical perspective as well as an interesting story of her life. Because as she goes through life, it's going to take me 4 books to finish her life. And each book is a time chapter of America, where we were and how we were. The civil rights movement is mentioned. The women's rights movement is mentioned. So I'm a historian, and I can then, put that into my work and my authorship. Basically, the Great Migration. You can talk about the train ride from the south to the north. So that's historical. Then you talk about the music of the day, which it gets from that. You get the beatnik era. It's a little bit of that in there. Martin Luther King. I Have a Dream speech is in my book. So I want to bring you history, America. I'm bringing America through my aunt's eyes, not my eyes, but my aunt's eyes, which she went through. My aunt was able to amass wealth because she moved to Chicago. She married my uncle Sidney, who could pass for white. I was 12 years old when he passed away, and I remember very vividly. And he bought an apartment building, and it accrued to her because he could pass for white, and so he was able to do things that she was not able to do. But when he passed away, his properties accrued to her, and then she added on to it. And so therefore she became kind of wealthy. She took me to plays and things that a lot of people don't get access to. The
I
South
have
Side.
another question because we're running out of time. If this was an hour segment, I'll let you talk on and I'll ask so many great questions, but it's a 30-minute segment. So tell me, where are you going in the future and how can the people reach you?
Okay, you can reach me at boydbooks.net. That'll give you the book series. boydbooks.net. Uh, where am I going in the future? Right now, I'm going back into a business I was in, which is advertising specialty. So, and that's I have a website for that. Uh, and so, basically, where I'm going in the future is to continue on the road I've been on, trying to make life special for not myself, but for the people that are around me, to impart the knowledge that I have accrued over the years, because it doesn't do anyone any good to take knowledge to the grave. You have to impart it while you're here to encourage young people to keep going in the right direction, and to be, when I leave this planet, to look back and say he left the world a better place than he found it.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining my show. Stay on the line. Don't exit. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back on here in the next 10, 15 minutes. Thank you.